Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it was sent to me by one of our sisters. This is a narration of her story that she sent to me. The message reads like this. Hello, my brother. How are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? My story, it goes on like this. So as for my boss, the one that I was working for when I was still staying in Cape Town, there was a time when he started to encourage us, us that come from Zim, and he was like, now situation is going to be very tough. I might end up closing my own restaurant. So I want you girls to try to apply to the cruise ships. He was the one who told us that there was a high demand for these workers that are from Zim. So he then taught us how to apply to these cruise ships, and it was going to be very easy for us because we were working at his restaurant anyway. And then on the other side, I was working for his wife as well at her massage parlor. So when I had sent my CV, within a short period of time, there was a response that came back from this other cruise ship. And then this cruise ship, it was going to be at the Durban. And as for this cruise ship, it was going to circle around South Africa, and there was an interview that was going to be done in Cape Town. So me and some of the women, we then went there. So I was amongst some of the few women that were chosen. Then we started to apply for the visas and everything like that. And as for me, everything was just going according to plan. So at that time, I was staying with my husband. My husband was working for this other white man, and he's still there in Cape Town working at the garden services. So the promise that we made to each other was that I was going to be working at the cruise ships. Then I was going to try to save some money. Then me and my husband, instead of forever staying in South Africa, we were going to go to Ireland or try to go to the UK and try to get an asylum there. But when I was on the cruise ship, that was when everything suddenly changed, because I then found myself having a lot of money. To tell you the truth, even when I came here to South Africa, the amount of money that I was getting, it was not a lot of money. So the amount that I was now getting when I was working at the cruise ships, it was a lot of money. And speaking about the independence, because when we got there, the freedom was just too much. For 6 good months, I knew that I was not going to be with my husband. And when I was in South Africa, as for my husband, he had done some stuff with this other South African woman that I was working with, and I then caught the messages. So this was like payback time. I stopped communicating with him. I would only communicate with him whenever I felt like I wanted to communicate with him, but he kept on holding on. But as for me, I was already planning to move on with my life. And my parents, I told them about this issue, and when they said that the thing that you want to do, it is an evil thing, you need to remember that this man, he married you. And I said, but you still remember that I suffered so much when he was dating my workmate. So my parents, they understood from where I was coming from. I then told my parents that it is far much better for me to go to Europe alone, for I do not want to keep on staying with this man. If I take him to Europe with me, now that I can, then if I go to Europe, then what will happen if he starts to date other women there? Because you will see that he has so much freedom, and there is no way that I can send him back to Zim. Let him suffer in South Africa. Let him do the garden services, because he broke my heart. So whilst I was at the cruise ships, the reason as to why I was treating my husband like this, it was because of some of the girls that I was working with. Most of them, they were like your slave queens. So they are almost like prostituting themselves to those guests that will be having their vacations on the cruise ship. So since I was in the department of beauty, I was working at that massage parlor. Then they came this other man. He was alone on that vacation, but he seemed to be a very rich guy. So the more that we spoke, that was when he became honest with me, and he told me that He was also from Zim, so I was really happy. Then this man, he told me that he has his vacation home that is in Durban, and I was like, wow. And when he told me that he was single, I forgot about my plans of going to Europe, and I said I want to be with this man, but he had not yet proposed love to me. Then on the final day, when I was supposed to give him like the final massage, he then asked me if I offered this other happy massages. When they say that I want a happy massage, they mean that they want that type of a massage whereby anything can happen. You can end up sleeping with your client. So after I had finished giving him the massage, I told him that I will come to his room. So later on, I went and I slept over at his room. That was when we made love. And after we had made love, he then said that I was too good in bed and he wanted to keep me by his side, and that is how I started to date this guy. So I returned back home to Zim. Instead of flying into South Africa, I flew straight to Zim because I wanted to avoid my husband. When my husband heard that I was back in Zim, he called me and he started to complain and said that he was waiting for me. And I said, waiting for who? Waiting for my money. You were not waiting for me. Then we started to fight over the phone, and that was when I just dumped him and I told him that I didn't love him anymore. Already my parents, they were in communication with my current husband. So my husband, he told me that he was in communication with his relatives, but I think that this was a red flag because his relatives, they were supposed to come so that they can at least pay some money so that they can be given a list for the bride price. But what surprised me was that his driver and his other friend, who is not even a Zimbabwean, this guy that came, he was from Ghana. He was the one who came with this other driver, and the list that my father wrote, it was about 30,000 US dollars. Everyone was shocked because my husband, he had this briefcase that was full of money, and he paid each and everything that was on that list. Me and my husband, we came back, then we started to stay here in Durban. That is where we are currently staying. But there are things that are happening to me, and each and every time that I complain, now he is becoming violent to me. These things, they started when we were still on that cruise ship. The night that he made love to me, I thought that maybe he had drank some Viagra's because he does not rest. Throughout the night, he slept with me. And when I woke up, I then found out that I had a lot of bruises on my private parts. So I then said, since he slept with me throughout the night without giving me any rest, maybe that is the reason as to why I have a lot of bruises on my private parts. When we came here to South Africa, we would only make love maybe for only one round. But the way that it will be hot down there, it will be too painful. So in these past few weeks, I then started to have a dream. And in this dream, whenever I would see my husband coming to make love to me, then he will transform himself. Then he will become sort of like a very big snake that is white and greenish in color. And each and every time when I have this dream, when I wake up, to my surprise, I will find him on top of me. He always waits for me to fall asleep. When he sees that I have fallen asleep, that is when he will come on top of me. Then he will start to make love to me. I can't even walk properly. There was even a day when it was very hot. I had to place some ice blocks down there because of the way that my private part was very painful. He does not care. Even when I am on my periods, the things that he does, it is very nasty. Sometimes he can even lick me, and when he finishes to lick me, then I'll see that his mouth will be full of blood, like your period blood, and this makes me want to vomit. But he says that it is quite a turn on for him whenever he makes love to me when I am on my periods. So I honestly do not know. I do not know. This man, he keeps some pets that I do not know if they are allowed or not. He has this other dog, which is a German Shepherd, and he has this other snake that is not poisonous. I don't know the name, but it is a thin green snake that he keeps as a pet. Then he has a tortoise also that he keeps at our house, and all of these things, I don't even know why he keeps them. As for his relatives, my brother, I have never met any of his relatives. I have only met his friends, the drivers, as well as his friends' wives, and most of them, the wives, they are South African. They only got married to these men who are from Western Africa for the sake of money, and these guys, they benefited to get their citizenships. So there is no love there. I can see these women, they are just taking their money, they are just collecting their money. There is no love. So I do not know what else am I supposed to do, especially when it comes to him making love to me non-stop, licking my private parts when I am on my period. I want him to stop doing that. But when I try to speak with him, he becomes so violent, so much that he can threaten to throw me out, because as for now, I am not yet legally married to him. We are only legally married to each other as per our Shona culture. So I just do whatever he wants me to do. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by our dear sister, hoping that the story did not get lost in translation. Strange things do happen in this world. Just imagine your husband telling you that he wants to lick your private parts when you are on your period.